We were discussing about rails and we have seen something which is known as creep in rail. There are different theories available. There are different causes. I have also included one incident of railway derailment related accident in the country of Canada. And then we were discussing about different ways to get rid of creeping in rail. Okay, so we were discussing about the creep anchor. So there needs to be more anchor at the level crossing where road is going to cut the railway track. The places where heavy brake is being applied, like at the approaches of the railway stations. And one more thing was that they should not be fixed near joints because joints are the weakest points in a particular rail. So we should not fix them over there. And if there are defective creep anchors, there are different types of creep anchor that we have seen. They looks like clip. So we need to fix them by the side of the slipper. So if they are defective, if it is not being able to grip the rail properly, or if it is broken, if it is loose, you need to replace them in order to make sure that no creep is getting accumulated over the time. Some last point related to the creep anchors. One is that how many creep anchors we need to use. Okay, so it will be basically decided by the amount of creep that we are observing over the time or intensity of creep, which is represented in terms of millimeter per month. So we will be using 4 anchors per rail if creep is between 75 millimeter to 150 millimeter per month. So you are sending the levers at the site at the interval of 3 months. So if you see that if the creep is in the range of 75 to 150 millimeter or 7.5 centimeter to 15 centimeter per month, then you can recommend for installation of 4 creep anchors per rail. Okay, if it is in the higher range, 225 millimeter to 250 millimeter per month, then you need to go for more number of anchors. Okay. So if we use more number of creep anchors, we are fixing the rail to the slipper at more number of location. So obviously there will be less chance that the rail will move with respect to the slipper or with respect to the track. Then there could be one more strategy. What is that? So you have seen that the first point was related to the pulling or pushing of the rail, and we have seen that it is not applicable for very large rail, large distance of rail. So if it is at a very localized level, we can do it manually using something which is known as crowbar and hooks. So we put those hooks at the holes which are meant for nuts and bolts in order to fix the fish plates. Then we have seen some kind of hydraulically operated machine which can do it for larger length. Then second solution was in order to use anti-creeper or creep anchors, which basically provide an extra support, extra grip of the rail with respect to the slipper so that they do not move. What could be the another solution? So you know different theory, wave action, percussion theory, then drag theory, and there are other things related to whether unidirectional movement or bidirectional movement. There is what is the variation in the daily temperature, seasonal temperature, whether there is bad design of car, poor maintenance of track. So what else? How we can mitigate creep? Any other alternative? So we need to reduce the movement of the rail. How we will make sure that the string that we have fixed with the help of a couple of rail posts. So we have make sure that this is the initial position of the rail. So after few months we are coming back. We are seeing that the mark that we made on the foot of the rail or the wave of the rail, so it has moved forward. So rail has gone in a particular direction. So what is the other way to reduce the movement of the rail or to stop the movement of the rail? Anybody? Okay. Can you people hear me? Hello? Am I audible to you? Hello? Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. That's the sweetness of one online class, no? Sometimes you don't know whether you are the only person who are speaking or not. So anybody present or not. So no answer from your side. The thing is use of appropriate slippers. Okay, now what are the different types of slippers that we can use? So let us see certain points. So slipper type and fitting. So whenever we are saying slipper, you need to see that how it can impede or resist the movement of the rail. One thing is that what is the shape of the slipper. Second one is what kind of fittings or fastening we are using in order to fix the rail to the slipper. Okay, those are the two things which will be influencing the movement of the rail. So if we can go for appropriate selection of the slipper, then it will be really effective to stop the movement of the rail with respect to the slipper. And the other point is that if the fitting is good, then the grip is really good. Okay. And at the same time, by looking at the shape of the slipper, you will be able to say whether it is having a very good grip from the ballast as well, because we have seen when we have discussed about the slipper, I have shown you the photo that ballast, the slipper is embedded inside the ballast layer. After that we go for packing of the ballast. Generally we go for mechanized packing nowadays. So must have grip with respect to fastening, must have good grip with respect to the ballast to resist movement of the slipper in the ballast. So let us see. So these are historically different types of slipper we have used. Okay. So here on this side, you can see that, just hold on. Here you can see this is wooden slipper. Okay. So this is wood. Then after we used wooden slipper, we started using the metal slipper. So metal slipper are of two different types. This one, this particular shape, which has a shape of bowel, and there is some kind of horizontal bar which is joining these two particular container shape components. These sort of slippers are known as the cast iron slipper. So initially when we moved to metal slipper, we used cast iron slipper for long period of time. And this one here, this is known as steel slipper. Okay. Earlier, if you see the initial books in railway engineering, then you will see that there is one particular word which is written in between steel slipper. It is steel trough slipper. TROUGH, trough slipper. So I will come back to the trough component later. And this one is the concrete slipper that we can see nowadays in our railway track. Okay. So based upon your understanding, try to say which slipper we should use for the resistance with respect to the slipper or the track. Which slipper should you use? Ow. अच्छा ठीक है, और थोड़ा आगे बढ़ते हैं। ठीक है, तो द फर्स्ट वन that we use is steel slipper, and second one that we most effectively use in order to stop the creep of rail is concrete slipper. There are several reasons for that. So first one is that shape of the slipper. Okay, so first one is that good fitting, good grip, and obviously you can say if we can increase the slipper density, it will be able to withstand the creeping very effectively. So let us see some photo. So this is steel trough slipper. In many of the modern books you will not see the word trough, they have removed, but trough is a particular word which is associated with the shape of this particular slipper. So this is not actually a solid metal, rather it is hollow, so it is inverted, and these are the holes. These are used for what? In order to fix the rail on the top of the slipper. Okay, so trough, what is the origin of this particular word? In a stable, if you go where um, there is a metal component, or nowadays there are other modern materials are coming, you will be able to see that there are some kind of setup which is used in order to feed the cattle, a cow, sheep, etc. So trough is related to shape of this. In case of mathematics, you know that if you draw a graph, we call this peak or crest, and we call this trough. So trough is basically this particular shape, kind of U shape. Okay. So trough. So steel trough slipper is having this shape. So the advantage of using steel trough slipper is that though it is not as heavy as the concrete slipper, but because of this hollow shape, when we use this slipper, we try to embed it in the ballast layer. So its empty portion, hollow portion, will be full of stones, because it will be placed in such a way that the whole hollow portion of this particular slipper will be filled with stones. Now, when there are stone insides and outside as well, there will be very less chance that the rail will be moving with respect to either slipper, or the whole rail and the slipper will move with respect to the track. Okay, so there are less chances. So this is a photo of steel trough slipper, not a very good photo actually, this is very old photo, but you can see that this shape is not so narrow as well. So there are stone inside this metal component, and there are stones outside the metal component. So okay, so we have ballast layer here, we have ballast layer in the middle as well. So what do we call it here when we have ballast layer in between the two rails? What is the name of this ballast layer? The ballast which is there in between the two rails and the slipper. Anybody remember the term?
Sir, crepe ballast.
What?
Crepe ballast.
Yes, creep ballast, absolutely correct. CRIB, creep ballast. And what about the ballast that are lying on the sides?
Shoulder ballast.
Yes, shoulder ballast. So in case of road, you know that shoulder is basically one particular area by the side of the lane which is used for the emergency purposes, right? So shoulder, you know, so in case of railway track also, anything beyond rail is known as shoulder. So shoulder ballast is basically the ballast layer which is lying by the side of the rail, not inside the rail. Okay, so steel trough slipper is used. At the same time, the kind of devices or equipment that we use nowadays in order to fix the rail to the steel trough slipper is of excellent quality. Okay, so this is spandrel clip, this is nuts and bolts, and with the modern technological advancement, we have something which is known as elastic fastening. So it has been observed that these kind of fittings are very good to dampen the shock and vibration. At the same time, the kind of grip it will be providing between the rail and the slipper, the rail will not be able to move further in a particular direction. Okay, so by looking all of these properties of steel tower slipper, it has been extensively used in order to reduce the creep in use historically. But after the introduction of concrete slipper, people found that concrete slipper, you can see that now it is lying above the track. When we will be putting it in a track, then this portion, this particular depth will be going inside the ballast. Okay, that will provide you an extra grip with respect to the ballast layer. The slipper no way will be able to move in a particular direction, no matter how much at which speed train is traveling. Secondly, these are very heavy. So as I mentioned earlier, concrete slipper has having a weight of 260 to 300 kg each component. Okay, so you need at least 2 or 3 people to handle them in order to place them underneath the rail. So when they are heavy, they are having very good grip with respect to the ballast and good fastening. This is spandrel clip. There you have spandrel clip. Here you have spandrel clip. Spandrel clip. So spandrel clip, it has been observed that they provide excellent gripping. So when you have all of these properties associated with concrete slipper, they have been used extensively in order to reduce the creeping. So modern day slipper, everywhere you will be able to see concrete slipper. This is concrete slipper. You can see the whole depth of the concrete slipper is gone. So you can only see the top surface of the concrete slipper layer. Okay, and this is spandrel clip. Okay. So we have started our discussion related to track. So we are done with the first component of the track, which is visible on the top, which is rail. Now we are moving to the second component. So rail is fixed to the slipper. So we need to know certain property of the slipper. What are the different types of slipper? What is slipper density? We will be knowing once again. So many of the things you have heard earlier, but there are some new information as well. Okay, so those are member of the track laid transverse to the rail. So laterally placed. Okay, this is laterally placed. They are supported, the rails are supported, fixed. They transfer the load from rail to the ballast and then formation. There are other names as well of the slipper. So if you are being settled in abroad after something, after your degree or in future, you will be seeing that different countries use different names. But there is a common term that the word is tie. So this is railroad tie, railway tie, cross tie. So everything related to tie and railway track, cross tie is basically representing the slipper. Okay, but in India we use the term slipper. There are certain functions that they will be serving, otherwise why we are going to use them. So hold rails in correct gauge and alignment, otherwise it will be really harmful for the track. There can be accidents. Provide firm and even support to the rail. Obviously you do not expect that something will be uneven, so there will be discomfort being felt by the passenger. Act as an elastic medium between rail and ballast so that it can absorb shock and vibration that is causing because of the movement of the train. Longitudinal and lateral stability to the track, otherwise the railway track will move in a longitudinal direction, or laterally the rail can fall, so it provides the stability. Transfer load to wider area of ballast, so rail is going to bear the whole load of the train. So many compartments so many wagons, locomotive, each of them are having huge amount of load. Now the load has to be transmitted. So the load is coming through the rail to the slipper. Now slipper will be transferring that load to larger area which is underneath, which is known as ballast. And at the same time, it provides mean to rectify, fix geometry if there is some problem during the service life. So if suppose some problem happened, some derailment, some accident happened and the rail came out of the slipper, so you should have a provision that you can fix something in order to uh, put the rail on the top of the slipper once again. Okay, so that we can maintain the track geometry. Then for all components related to the track, first thing is function, then second is going to be requirements. Okay. Being a developing country, I mentioned that if this kind of questions are being asked in my exam or competitive exam, no matter uh, what other points are, you need to mention you have minimum initial and maintenance cost. So overall cost should be comparatively less. Okay, do anyone of you know life cycle cost analysis? LCCA? Anybody heard the term earlier? Life cycle cost analysis. In most of the cases, most of the fields in civil engineering, infrastructure engineering, they are talking about life cycle cost analysis nowadays. No? No idea? So let me tell a bit. Okay. Let me see if I can. Okay, how many of you can see my whiteboard? All of you? Or no?
Yes, sir.
You can see my whiteboard? Oh, where it is? Sorry, I did something. Yes. So let us take two example. Okay. So one is flexible pavement. The other one is rigid pavement. Okay. This is time. This is also time. On this side, we have something known as PSI. Present Serviceability Index. Okay. Present Serviceability Index means at the current situation, how much satisfaction you are observing or you are feeling as an user. Okay. So let us take this example of flexible pavement. So suppose you have spent some money here. Okay. Then the road is working really nice. So serviceability initially it will be really good. Over the time it will be deteriorating because there will be potholes, there will be not much maintenance and everything. So again you are spending money here. Okay. As soon as you spend the money, your present serviceability index will be almost at the same range or maybe a little bit lower. So again there will be drop. Okay. Again like that. Okay. So suppose for this kind of flexible pavement, you said that you need to do this kind of improvement every 7.5 years. 7.5, 7.5, 7.5. So this is basically 30 years. Now, if you look at flexible pavement, concrete pavement, sometimes there are reinforcement, you know all of those things. So you are saying my present serviceability index is same, but I have a larger service life. Okay, so this is 15, this is 15. Now, as an engineer, as I am telling, initial cost and then maintenance cost is less. So sometimes you may say that how to optimize both. So in case of flexible pavement, you can say that initial cost is low, but maintenance cost is high. But in case of rigid pavement, initial cost is high, but maintenance cost is less. So sometimes this kind of situation happens in real life situation, not only in case of transportation or rigid pavement or flexible pavement. So for those cases, you do not only talk about initial and maintenance costs, rather you do not talk about only minimum initial and maintenance costs, rather you say something which is known as LCCA. Life cycle cost analysis. So you take certain years, 30 years, 50 years, and see how many times you need to spend money and what is the overall amount of money you are spending, divide it by number of years it is going to serve the purpose, and see, compare them and check which option is better than the other. Okay, so that is life cycle cost analysis. So this is not related to this course, just for your knowledge. Okay. Okay, let me again come back to the slide. Yes. So minimum initial and maintenance cost, easy maintenance and adjustment of gauge. So if there is any problem, you need to make sure that gauge is in proper shape, or you need to adjust the gauge because of the lateral thrust. Gauge has increased a little bit. So you should have the provision in the slipper that you can do it easily. Fixing and removal of rails should be easy. So you know that we are using such kind of devices or equipment in order to fix the rail to the slipper. But ऐसा ना हो जाए उन लोगों का जो bonding है, ऐसा ना हो जाए कि you need to replace the rail, but you are not being able to remove the fastening very easily. Okay, it should be comparatively easy. Moderate weight, though I am saying that the wooden slipper or metal slipper has much less weight and the concrete slipper has very large weight, but those are again coming under moderate weight. So if it is of moderate weight, then it will be easy to handle them. There can be some levers who will be carrying it at the site where the track is being laid, or at least they can take help from some modern vehicles which are used for the laying of the track. Sufficient bearing area. So bearing area should be such that it is going to be distributed. The load is which is going to come from rail to slipper. It should be distributed over larger area so that the ballast which is underneath the slipper, they are not going to get crushed over the time. They should be able to resist shocks and vibration. Then we have some different term which is known as track circuiting. Let me talk about it in a couple of minutes. Anti-sabotage and anti-theft qualities. I remember when I was a student, there was one accident in West Bengal, train accidents in some district called Midnapur. Many people died, almost 170 to 180 people got killed because the train got derailed. It was later identified that the train got derailed because the rail fell apart, the rail fell apart because some of the pendle clip were removed. Okay, so if you remove those, so if you remove the fastening that you are going to use in order to fix the rail to the slipper, the rail will not be able to withstand the load that is coming. So obviously it will fall. So it should have certain property that the kind of metal insert that we will be using or the kind of devices that we will be using, they are not easily replaceable. So anti-sabotage and anti-theft properties, qualities. Somebody should not easily take them out. Okay, the next slide. So track circuiting, this is not in very new idea, rather this is in the railway engineering field from 1970s. I have some description in the note position. When I will be sharing the slide, you people can read the description. So what it is done, basically the in case of railway engineering, sometimes it is very tricky to identify whether a particular rail section is occupied or not. Occupied or not means whether there is train in a particular section of a railway track or not. So in order to come up with this mechanism, very simple mechanism, in 1970s some engineer from Europe, he came up with the idea that we will be dividing the whole track into number of blocks. So those are basically track blocks. So it can have varying length. So you can see that here we have some insulated gap. Here also we have some insulated gap. So these are basically the gap in between two track blocks. Okay, this is one block, this is another block. This is not only the railway joint. It can be railway joint, but it is for larger distance. So we do it. We do the insulation here, we do the insulation there. So at one end of this track block, we put a power source. So this is power source. So you can see that plus minus sign is given. On the other side of the track, so you have some kind of switch or relay. So switch is basically electrically operated some device. So in normal condition, when there is no train, so you can see a circuit. So you have wire, rail is already metal, we have some other wire, as well. So a small voltage current will pass through this particular metal and wire, and a whole circuit will be formed. Okay, small voltage current will be passing. So when it is not occupied, no train is coming, the circuit is complete, power to signal relay or the switch, it is going again, it is coming back from switch to power. So track is complete, circuit is complete. So the signal will indicate green signal. Okay, green light. So it means that that particular block, track block, is not occupied, free of any train. Now when a train comes, see the wheel, this is axle, this is wheel, this is wheel. Now as it is moving, so this insulated gap is here, this insulated gap is here. So as soon as it crosses this particular insulated gap and going in this particular direction, you can see that it is going to cut the circuit short. Okay, so the current which is being transferred from this power to the signal relay, it is getting obstructed because of the presence of the metal wheel. So what is happening? The current is going from this track, then wheel, then again coming back to the power source. It is not going to this particular region. It is not going there. So as there is no power source, no current is coming on this side of the track, it will so stop. So very simple mechanism. So stop means there is a presence of a train on this particular track. So there can be other instances which can lead to the signal being stopped. if there is breakage in rail, so somebody has cut the rail with some kind of saw, or if there is some problem with the power source, then also it will be showing the stop signal. Okay, so now the people who are sitting in the cabin, or the lineman, or the other people who are traveling on the other lines, they see that there is no train movement, but it is showing stop line. It means there is some problem in the track. Either the rail is cut, there is breakage in rail, or the power source, which is supposed to send a very low voltage current, is not working properly. Okay, so this is how track circuiting works. So now coming back to the wooden slipper discussion. Okay, slipper discussion. Now first slipper that we have historically used is wooden slipper. This is very common. It was very ideal, but nowadays we do not see it very often. The reason is that across the world they have stopped the cutting of the trees or deforestation. So not much seen everywhere, but still we see on bridges at the turnout location. So turnouts are basically the locations where we can see the. Hey, please mute yourself. Yes. Turnouts are the location where we have seen the points and crossings. Okay. We have seen a photo earlier. So these are the location we still use. There are some other branch line which is not very important line, at the same time some remote location. So you do observe very low frequency of trains at that places, still you will be able to see wooden slipper. So why bridge and the turnout? The reason is that these are very critical location. There are huge amount of abnormalities associated with the track structure at this location. So one of your friends were asking me regarding the bridge, that there is no ballast layer or formation layer, there is bridge. So how things will be transferred? So we can have a lecture on bridge, railway bridge, but for now I can tell you that there are huge number of abnormalities with this particular location, either bridge or turnout. So now whenever we are using some kind of slipper, in order to fix them easily, in order to cut as per our wish, we use them at bridges and the turnouts. At the same time, wood, it has been observed that they provide better damping with respect to the vibration than any other slipper. That's why we still use them on bridges and turnouts. So this is one location. What does it mean by the turnout? So we have seen this point is local. This side is known as points. This side is known as crossing. So see, this is not a photo from India, but you can see that they have used wooden slipper. Okay, they have used wooden slipper. Here also you can see wooden slipper. So the reason is that sometimes the junction are so peculiar. You can see that this particular slipper, this is not a normal size slipper. Rather, they had to cut this slipper somewhere here. They have to put a new slipper up to this point. So when you cannot put a standard size, full size slipper, you should have the provision to cut it even at the side. So you cannot say that I will bring the slipper at the factory with different sizes and cut them and again lay it at the track. So no, that provision is not there. So that's why wooden slipper are very common even today for the turnout locations. There are several advantages. Cheap, easy to manufacture. You can understand that the production rate is comparatively high because it is easy to handle. Easy handling without damage. So it does not happen कि हाथ से गिर गया तो some corner में कुछ breakage आ गया या कुछ हो गया. Just like brick. In many cases you will see that brick, if it falls, sometimes it breaks, sometimes there is some breakage at the corner, Or so in case of concrete slipper or cast iron or steel slipper, sometimes if it is not handled properly, they may break, but this is not the scenario in case of wooden slipper. So without damage, absorb shocks and vibration. That's why it is still used in bridge. Okay. Retains the packing well. So the kind of packing we are doing, so we are saying that track maintenance should be good. It affects the track modulus, track stiffness, everything. So it has been observed that the wooden slipper, it retains the packing quite well for a long period of time. Suitable for track circuiting because it is not of metal. Okay, so if it is metal, then you need to come up with a different mechanism so the track circuiting works. Suitable for yielding formation, bridges at as speeds with or without stone ballast. So stone ballast ho na ho, for different type of formation we can use it, and still we are using it for yielding formation where we have uneven surface, we have bridges, we have something which is known as speed. We will be seeing it when we will be discussing about the ballast. So correction of the alignment is easy. In layman term, I can tell you that we are fixing the rail to the slipper with the rail help of some kind of nails. Now, if the alignment is getting altered, what we have to do? We have to pull the nail out. Then you have to fix it to a different location, and wood being comparatively lighter, softer material, it is easy to fix it in a different location. So correction to alignment is comparatively easy. Being said that, I can tell that there are several disadvantages as well, because some of the advantages can tell you that there can be disadvantages. So being lighter, wood material, shorter life due to decay, where the attack of vermin, minimum service life among all different types of slipper, only 12 to 15 years. Okay, after that you need to change it because of the weathering action, because of the wheel load, many things will happen and you cannot use them beyond 12 to 15 years. So you need to throw them out. Maintenance of gauge is difficult. So I am saying in the last slide, I said that track, maintaining the track alignment or fixing the nails in a different position is comparatively easy, but maintenance of the gauge is difficult. You can understand, because of the lateral wheel load, because of the wheel flange continuously thrusting against the head of the rail, maintenance of the gauge will be comparatively difficult for a softer material like wood. High maintenance cost, you need to keep a close eye on the status of the wooden slipper. Susceptible to fire hazard. So if it is getting if it get caught fire, then there will be a problem. Excessive creep. So kind of fastening or equipment that we use in order to fix the rail to the slipper, they are not very good. So there can be occurrences of creeping. Obviously there will be occurrence of creeping and they will be of excessive amount. And last one is scrap value is negligible. What does it mean? That once they have reached their service life, 12 to 15 years, when I am saying they are not going to serve the purpose of a good slipper, we need to throw them out. So at the time there will be nobody to buy it because the cost has significantly reduced. Okay, so we call it scrap value. You also know about something depreciation, right? What does it mean by depreciation? Any idea? Depreciation or depreciation cost. So for example, I am planning to buy a vehicle. Okay, suppose in this month I will buy a car. So I bought a car. No matter whether I am driving to Rishikesh, Haridwar or Punjab, Himachal every day or not, or whether I am only confining my travel within the campus, as soon as I start using the car, I want to sell it, I will not get the same amount. The reason? is that I have used it, no matter how much I have traveled. Now, if you have traveled for 1000 kilometer or 50,000 kilometer, that will be also affecting how much money you will be getting. But depreciation starts as soon as you start using it. So mobile, if you go for any Xiaomi mobile today, MI 9 Pro Max, so 17,000 rupees, you buy it, within 1 week you are going to sell it to your friend. So obviously you do not expect that you will be getting 70,000 money. Okay, because there is depreciation. So now in case of civil engineering, can you give me one example that you are not getting money, at the same time you are saying depreciation cost is negative or scrap value is negative? What does it mean? ऐसा कोई एग्जाम्पल आप लोग दे सकते हो मुझे? So in this particular slide I am saying scrap value is negligible. मतलब आप पूरा जो wooden slipper है उठाया, किसी लोग को पकड़ के लाए और बोला कि पर केजी में आप 5 रुपया दे दो बस, और क्या करें. Okay, but I am saying give me one example where the scrap value or depreciation cost is not going to zero, rather below zero. It is negative. What does it mean? कैसे हो सकता है? हो सकता है. Is it feasible? The scrap value is negative.
When we dispose things, we need to pay for them.
Yes. Okay. Suppose you have a flexible pavement structure. Okay. Yes, you are in the right direction. Rather, your answer is absolutely right. So, suppose you have a flexible pavement. You have spent money. Now you are doing maintenance. Now after certain year, what will happen? No matter how much maintenance you do, it will be in a very bad shape. Okay. So suppose it has reached its service life. Now the kind of materials that is in front of you, you know that if you want to sell that, whether there is bitumen or there is concrete, mix of aggregates and concretes, if you want to sell them, hey, please mute yourself. So if you want to sell them,
we will be learning just about max. So let us learn how to insert. So for insertion, already I have taken a max here, and that is represented in array. In array, it is looking like this. It's a complete quantity. And the array indices are starting from 1 of, like when we are using the formula 2 array, 2 array.
now it's in a very bad shape. So now if you want to throw that away because you want to lay a different layer, if you want to construct the road once again, because you know the situation of the road is such that you cannot do anything, you cannot go for any rehabilitation, any maintenance. Okay, so you need to throw that out. Now the kind of materials that you have in front of you, you ask certain people and told के आप ये लोगे, बोला कि नहीं ये तो बेकार हो चुका है, बर्बाद हो चुका है. So there can be instances where there will be no seller at all. Okay, no buyer at all. There is no customer to buy it. Rather, you need to ask people to come, pay for their transportation cost and take the things away. So in order to remove the things from your side, you are basically spending money out of your pocket. So that is actually negative depreciation cost, okay, or negative scrap value. So there can be other examples as well. So wooden slipper, they are a different size associated with wooden slipper. This is basically length, this is width, this is height, this is bearing area. So in case of bridge, points and crossings, they have basically the higher width and higher depth. Okay. These you don't have to remember. There are two different types of wooden slipper. First one is durable type. So in this case, you do not have to go for any treatment. So you have the wood, you can simply lay them on the track. So in case of this kind of wooden slipper, the material is really good. You can expect a service life of 19 years in case of broad gauge, 31 years in case of meter gauge. Okay, so same materials, why larger service life for this? What happens in case of meter gauge with respect to broad gauge based upon your understanding so far? Let me write.
The traffic is less.
Yes, and less speed as well. Okay, less speed, less traffic. Okay, so that's why more service like. So these are certain trees from where we can get durable type wooden slipper. Teak, sal, nahor, rosewood, anjan. There are other names as well. There are non-durable types as well. So you need to go for treatment. There is no way you can directly place them in the track. So service life is comparatively less, 12.5 in case of meter gauge, 15.5. These are the trees from where we get this kind of wood: Cheer, Deodar, Kali, Kail, Gunjan, Jammu. Okay, these are two different types of wooden slipper. In other terms, so this is durable, non-durable. In other terms, we can call them treated and untreated. So untreated means the durable one. So comprised of all the slippers made from wood from naturally durable species. See, those are readily used to be used in the track. So we call them U slippers. So U untreated. Okay, and treated means rest of the slipper you call this T slipper. T. Because those needs to be treated in order to be used in the track. So there are several processes we treat the slipper. There are heat treatment process, pressure treatment process. There are different types of pressure treatment process that we do not use nowadays because in India we have very less amount of wooden slipper. Okay, we have some of the treatment plants across the India, in Punjab, in Assam, in UP, in Kerala. But I would say that for my course purpose, you do not have to focus much on this particular slide because those are obsolete things for us. Then there are seasoning. So seasoning is nothing but to reduce the moisture content. So again, we do the treatment. Okay, we need to make sure that moisture content is, no matter what we do, it is going to be more than 25%. So for that we need to go for seasoning. There are several processes. Again, we do not use them. There are processes which are used in the developed countries, artificial seasoning. There are boiling under the vacuum process. Okay, in that way they reduce the moisture content, and in India, developing country, we simply lay them under the direct sunshine and we make sure that there is air circulation. So this is the last slide. So there is one method called 1 in 9 method. So you can see if you count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we stack them like this here also. Then we put a slipper in the transverse direction so that the gap that is available to you, this is having a triangular shape, and air will be circulating through those passages, and there are gaps in between the slipper as well. So air circulation is good, bright sunshine is coming, so air seasoning is going on. Then there are closed cream method and open cream method. Those are different methods. You can see that slippers are in this direction, for the other layer slippers are in the other direction. So we keep it open under the sun and we make sure that moisture content is going to come under 25%. So I'll stop here. This is the last slide. So do you have a course on construction materials? I think those things will be covered in greater detail. Okay, so let me take the attendance. I am taking the attendance. Okay, so it is done. So thank you guys. Thanks for your time. See you tomorrow.